is the Metro on WDET. I'm Robin Vincent. While much of the media's focus on November's elections has been on Detroit's mayoral race, there are a lot of other political contests happening outside the city. One of them is in Madison Heights. That's where a one-term council member is running for mayor against the Eastpointe police chief. If elected, the council member would be the city's first black mayor. But what's also interesting about this race is that he, not the police chief, won the endorsement of the Michigan Fraternal Order of Police. So how did City Councilor Quinn Wright do it? And why does he want to be mayor? Last week, producer Sam Corey spoke with Wright about that and more. And just a note, the Metro reached out multiple times to Wright's opponent, Chief Corey Haines. We still haven't heard back from him.
Why are you running for mayor of Madison Heights?
Well, I'm running for mayor of Madison Heights because I think Madison Heights is ready for a mayor that listens and that leads with the intentions of the entire city. I've learned a lot about what we can achieve when we work together and how we can help to move the city forward for all of our residents. And that, along with my personal experience as a business owner and as a father, I think that of the candidates, I'm the one who has the experience not only on city council, but has the relationships from a county, state, and other levels that can help to move Madison Heights forward in the direction that we want to go.
You've been on the council for 4 years. What are you most proud of accomplishing while being there?
I think some of the biggest things I'm proud of is the improvements we can see in the quality of life for our residents. We moved our active adult center to consolidate our campus. That project, yes, there were votes that happened before I got there, but there needed to be a lot of collaboration and work to get it done. And I was proud to support those projects to provide our residents with a quality of life that they look for, with some activities that they can look forward to and participate in.
The adult center, is that a rec center?
The active adult center is for our seniors. We also have had some other infrastructure improvements in our city, including with our parks. If you look at some of the parks in Madison Heights, they are hands down comparable, if not better, than any in the area. And I'm proud to have been a part of the council to get that type of work done. I think the biggest challenge we've had is providing to our residents proof that they're getting something for their tax dollars.
Y'all are doing things, you're trying to improve on the infrastructure that already exists, but a lot of people don't know about it. Like, a lot of people are just not aware.
No, I mean, they don't, and they're not aware how it connects to keeping their costs down. One of the things that part of this campaign that I've been trying to stress is we need to talk about taxes. And so when I say that, I don't talk about lowering taxes. I also don't talk about raising taxes, but we need to have real conversations about the compounding power of the dollar when we put it together as a community and how it actually saves the individual money. For example, in our city with our trash program, we saved $10 million in our budget. We did that to help control cost. I think we have to continue to forward think like that when planning.
How did you do that? What was the mechanism by which you did that? And did it have something to do with like a millage or raising taxes?
Our waste management contract had to go out to bid. And in order to keep the existing services, we would have had to take a $10 million increase over the next coming years to the budget, which would have potentially led to us asking for a tax increase. And so listening to the feedback from residents, talking to people and getting an idea of what their priorities were, it seems like everyone's priorities is trying to keep taxes as low as possible. With that feedback, we took that in consideration when saying, hey, do we want to keep this program as it is and add an additional $10 million to our budget, or do we want to take this opportunity to see if we can mitigate some costs?
You're a business owner.
I am. I have my own practice as a financial planner.
Okay. And how long have you been doing that for?
I've been doing that for about 7 years now. Prior to that, I was in supply chain management.
How does that experience, that background, inform your work on the council and also your run for mayor?
Well, I think it comes down to practical planning as a part of addressing the priorities of the people. And that's what the logistics and the supply chain part comes in addition to the financial planning, because, ultimately we have the same and similar goals. It's just a matter of how do we plot the course to get there. And I think that experience that I've had in my professional career has taught me how to take those steps to invest in the future while dealing with the present. Because of recency bias, I always go back to the trash situation in our city because it was a big topic of discussion. Through a grant, we provided each resident with a trash can and a recycle bin. And we took that opportunity because it addressed multiple problems at once. In our city, just like most in the area, we have issues with the mice and with rodents. And it's something that can't just be dealt with through ordinances and through laws, because that's where my platform is built on 3 C's: caring, collaboration, and community. Every problem can't be solved with laws and ordinances. It has to come with us as a community working together to address the problem.
What I hear you saying is there are certain things we can do through like legal infrastructure, but we need people to participate. Like, we need a strong sort of civil society, civil infrastructure. How do council members, how do local officials try to stir that excitement, that engagement?
I think it's first listening to what they want to do, how they want to be involved. For example, in our community, there's talk right now about how do we get the youth more involved into coming out and being engaged in the community. And the answer is simple. We need to start doing programs that they want. Not programs we want them to have, but programs they want. You know, do we have spaces for them to hang out in and play video games? There's this concept, it's called third spaces. It's things you and I used to grow up and go to, and we would meet at the park, we meet at the playground, we meet at the bench. We would hang out there. I didn't have to call you and tell you to be there. You would just kind of walk there, and if I was there, I was there. We have spaces, but we don't have common spaces people go like they used to, because we're also in a world where we're kind of in our own bubbles. I call it in our own algorithm. And so, you know, if I don't think like you, talk like you, walk like you, I might not come across you. Whereas the truth is, we need to push for diversity.
Those third spaces, are there some that come to mind that you've heard when door knocking, when talking to residents, that there's things that they yearn for, be it a space to play video games, a space to, I don't know if it would be a park expansion.
Sure.
But yeah, what are kind of those third spaces that you hear about?
Well, I think one of the big ones in our city that we're talking about is the streetscaping of our 11 mile. We took literally like a quarter of a mile and we streetscaped it to kind of create a common place for people to gather. And we planted the seeds to set the future vision of the city, to have places for people to come to get a coffee, to come get some food at Woodpile, or to go across the street to the ice cream shop. Or you can even go from there and you can walk to Rosie's Park, which is right around the corner.
I've been to Rosie's. It's a beautiful park.
It is a phenomenal park. And it's that connectivity that is the thread that weaves the community together.
You said streetscape. Did you narrow the road? What did
it
you
went
do?
from 5 lanes to 3 lanes. It's kind of funny when you listen to people talk about it sometimes. It seems like it's like a gigantic thing, but it's a quarter of a mile. Already it's changed the dynamics and the look of that area and the feel of it. And it's also, in my opinion, brought in some value to the residents, because I think it brings that property value up, because it now is a new attraction, which is, for me, important that we bring in more and new residents to help support our tax base. And that's not to punish the new residents, but to have them add to our tax base to help us to deal with some of our rising costs.
You're listening to The Metro on WDET-FM, Detroit Public Radio. I'm producer Sam Corey, speaking with Madison Heights mayoral candidate Quinn Wright. He sits on that city council right now. I want to talk to you a little bit about costs, about prices. You mentioned it a little bit earlier. Prices are going up everywhere. Of course, that's also inclusive of Madison Heights. You talked on your campaign about expanding multifamily dwelling units. I'm wondering how you plan to do that and make housing more accessible for folks who live in Madison Heights or who want to live in Madison Heights.
Well, first it starts with planting the seeds of saying we want to do it, and then showing them that we're open into it. And then it moves on to where we do talk about the ordinances. I voted in favor of some of our recent changes to allow for multi-unit dwellings, to allow for have different types of housing. And I want to be careful, because something that's being miscued is that I'm working on low-income housing. It's not. I'm working on workforce housing. I think it's important to allow for first-time home owners to not only have a home in Madison Heights, but to grow roots. And that's how we do it, by providing them incentives, by working with our state, our county, our federal partners to find incentives, to set up programs for them, to give them opportunities to move into the city and to enjoy it, but also to feel a part of the community and that they can afford it.
There's a lot of debates in certain townships, certain cities about having a lot of different types of homes. Of course, as you're saying, that can bring some costs down, can allow more people to be first-time home buyers. there's also some people who say, listen, I like the aesthetics of my neighborhood. I like this as it is. I'm wondering if you've heard that, from folks.
Absolutely. Because there's a fear that they're going to lose that, but that's where zoning is so important. Because, for example, we didn't zone everything just the same. There's a patch of our land that is owned by a church, and, we zone different parcels of that property in different ways. And so we did that intentionally to protect the integrity of the neighborhood. At the same time, we have to be incredibly cautious not to fall behind and to be fearful of change, because change is constant. And if we don't change, we really run the risk of falling behind.
Have you convinced people? Have you had to, you sat, listen to them, and then you've convinced them that, oh, no, actually, I can be okay with this change?
I think some, yes. Some, I think that of course, fear of change is something we all have to deal with. It's something that is just a normal thing. My job is to help people to understand that we're not changing for change's sake. Things are changing around us. We have to understand the problem fully, not necessarily just how we feel about it. I know we want to have clean streets. I know we want to have affordable homes that folks can afford to buy. We want to give first-time home buyers that opportunity, but the logistical part says, great. How do we get there? Logistics is A to B, and that's where my personal experience in the business world comes into play.
In order to move with change and hopefully progress, I guess, alongside it, first sit with that emotionally difficult thing and then address, really solve the problem.
Sure. One of the things I want to start for our city is a wish list, a website just for things people hope to have in the city. One of the things that people want in our city are a rec center. They want a splash pad. I want a 3D imaging studio for young designers. I want a creative space for young designers. Okay, I want that wish list because I want the opportunity for people to say, I can help make that happen. And not try and charge the city, but say, I can help see that vision through. Actually, I have a warehouse space. We can turn that into a creative studio. And someone to say, oh, we have a partnership with, a utility company, and they will, provide the utility. That's where my 3 C's, how I got to the 3 C's, because that's the collaboration part. It all takes teamwork. As a coach, I understand that. As a father, I understand that. We have to work with people to move the boat together.
I want to reflect a little bit on your time on the council. You've been on the Human Relations and Equity Commission.
Yes.
What is included in that work?
So the Human Relations and Equity Commission is one of our boards in the city that focuses on just making sure that the city is being more inclusive, is doing activities that are broadening our horizon for the residents. One of the things I'm most proudest of is our car show that we do. We do that along with a lantern festival. We do that along with a few other events. We participate in the Juneteenth event that our city does. It actually started in the Human Relations and Equity group. It's about bringing the community together in a way that maybe gives some exposure to some things that people don't think about. So the thing I love about our car show is that the car show is a cultural event that we don't think about as a cultural event. We're in the Motor City. We love cars. We love food, too. And we love getting together. And so why not bring people together around those things in our community? And Revenant in the Heights is an event that was spawned with that. And so the HREC also can take a look at policies when we say, hey, is this policy representing the tone of today? And, sometimes they don't. We talk about ADA compliance. We talk about inclusivity in a lot of different ways. HREC is about making sure that we are and have a mechanism to represent the entire community.
Madison Heights used to be a pretty white community, and it's gotten a lot more diverse, or significantly more diverse, with both more Black and Asian Americans in the suburb now. You would be the first Black mayor in its history if you're elected. What has it been like trying to, I guess, bring people along in Madison Heights and create those inclusive spaces? I wonder if that's been hard and there's been challenges there, and how you've had to work through that.
Yeah, it absolutely has been a issue for me. But the challenge is that you have to relate to people where they are, and then you hope to bring them along to see you fully. And so I think our city is in that process. For me, it's not about if you walk like me, talk like me, look like me. It's actually about including everyone to move the city together, because at the end of the day, we all do want our families to be healthy, happy. We want our neighbors to be taken care of. We want safe streets. We want our trash picked up. And so those are the things that I focus on. I let everything else kind of fall where it is, and particularly in a community like mine, because you have to.
You're running against the Eastpointe police chief, but interestingly, you won the endorsement of the Michigan Fraternal Order of Police. You also support co-responders and people with kind of more of a social work background, as generally I understand them, responding to 911 calls or calls of people in crisis experiencing mental health issues, which, I don't know, means to me that at least you're a bit of a reformer. How do you think you were able to get the support of the police over your opponent with kind of that reformer mindset?
At the core of why all of my endorsements have happened is because people understand in those groups and in our city that I am going to do the work for all of our residents. I'm going to listen first. I'm going to try and make a decision that's best for everyone, and that I don't believe that leadership should come from a title. I think that my leadership style has always been that style which you might have heard of called a servant leader, so which means that I do the work first. I want to make sure everyone's taken care of. And I do the hard parts when no one is looking. I actually started a scream club in our community because...
A scream club?
A scream
club.
You just scream.
Like you scream.
Yeah, because I realized mental health is incredibly important to me. And I realized that there was mental health, I don't want to say crisis in my community, but I saw all the comments on Facebook and I saw how just venomous they were. And I was able to take a step back and say, wait, some of you folks, you're just mad. You're not mad at me. I'm just the guy in front of you right now. And I said, we need to acknowledge that mental health is not a weakness. It doesn't make you weak to acknowledge that you are hurt or sad or you need to cry or you need to scream. And it's a little bit misogynistic, in my opinion, of us to feel like it somehow makes you weak to acknowledge your feelings and your thoughts. It's not a weakness, in my opinion. I think it makes you stronger to say, I am sad. It's what we do with that that's the important part, and that's why I started the Scream Club, because I feel like folks are forgetting the mechanisms to deal with their sadness and their sorrows and their stress. If I can help people to deal with them in a healthy way, I want to do that, and that's why I started the Scream Club, because I said, fine, hey, this is non-political. I don't care. We don't have to talk about politics. In fact, you don't have to talk to anyone.
People just get together and scream, like they let it all out. You just you get together. It's almost like a choir, but screaming.
Yeah. So here's what we do. We give people permission to let go and to just have a moment to let go of those things they're holding on to through a scream. And it's so amazing. I've done it, and yesterday was an amazing example of it. My heart was kind of touched because I got there at 7 and there was no one at the park, and it was dark and it was dreary. We have a beautiful hill in Civic Center Park. I was I'm gonna just go sit up there, and if I'm just by myself screaming, all the better. And it was a moment from a movie. It was I started walking up the hill because I carry a speaker and music. You try and just make it a place where people feel comfortable.
Palatable, sure, people join.
Yeah. So I got up to the top of the hill, and it was right at 7, the sun came back out, and there was a beautiful rainbow behind me, and it was a magical moment and a metaphorical for me. It felt it was very serendipitous because it was because sometimes you just have to take that first step, even when it looks dark and it looks dreary and it's just you by yourself. And then I did that, and then the sun came out, there was a beautiful rainbow behind me, and then people showed up. And it was just it was confirmation, man, that sometimes you got to be bold, you got to be creative. And even when it looks dark, you just got to take steps forward.
I really appreciate that. But I also want to return sort of to the question of you've worked with police officers and been hey, these mental health challenges are real.
Yes.
I support you. And also, we need to have more folks here staffed to deal with this specifically that are not necessarily violent crimes or not necessarily people that, long-term may be a threat in some of their actions, but that's only if the issue that they're dealing with is not addressed. I'm wondering how those conversations, I guess, went.
Yeah. So our police department loves our co-responder program because it takes some of the stress and work off of their plate and allows the professionals to do what the professionals do and allow them to do what they do. I think one of the things we're not talking about with all of our public service partners, be it teachers, police, they need help. And they need resources, and we are under-equipping them in a lot of ways in a lot of communities. If we support them, we need to genuinely support them. And the co-responders is a supportive program. It adds to the value of the community. It adds to the value of the police department. And more importantly, it helps people in crisis who need it most to get closer to the people that they need, which in most cases is not the law enforcement officer. The law enforcement officer is there to make sure that everything is safe, everyone is safe, and to deal with emergency issues. But if you're dealing with a mental health crisis, that's not their full lane.
I guess what I hear you saying and everything you're saying is we can do this with some of our political, legal infrastructure and the folks on the ground. But also it's going to take us. It's going to take us, supporting and being a part of Scream Clubs. And it's going to take us doing the work of interacting with each other and filling out those third spaces.
Yeah, filling out those third spaces and allowing people to vent in the way they need to vent. I have a neighbor of mine who clearly, adamantly does not support me. And I can tell because he has numerous signs in his yard. And that's okay, because I would rather allow him to do that and to vent and to have that than to do something else. And we need to allow people to express themselves and it not be detrimental to us. We need to allow people to just exist and us exist too. And we say, hey, man, I see you. Hey, I love you, or I like you, or maybe we should keep our space, but do your thing. And we need to get back to that place where it's not so oppositional always.
Madison Heights City Councilor Quinn Wright. He's running to be that city's next mayor. He sat down with producer Sam Corey. We're still waiting to hear back from Eastpointe Police Chief Corey Haines, who's also running for the position. It's the Metro on WDET, and today, October 16th, is the 30th anniversary of the Million Man March, where 1 million Black men converged on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. in a historic demonstration of unity and action, with speeches from Reverend Jesse Jackson and Maya Angelou, among others. And some news from right here in Detroit's Cass Corridor. Noel Night is canceled for this year. The popular holiday event in Midtown Detroit that drew thousands of visitors to local businesses has been put on a one-year hiatus by its organizer, Midtown Detroit, Inc. Coming up next, does your carbon footprint really make a difference? I sit down with an expert on climate disinformation for the answer. That's next on the Metro. Stay with us.